Right, the next one, it's going to be highlights because unfortunately Dave Garud from Phasor can't be here. His 91-year-old mother is taken ill seriously, so he has to stay with her. So, I've got to operate this. So, okay, what we're talking about here is electronically scanned antenna terminal, and Phasor is an outfit in the UK, probably something like 40, 50 professional engineers there, and probably an equal number over in the US. I think they're in Pennsylvania. They've been going some time, and probably since 2014, so it's about time that these guys came out with a product. They say there's an indicated 300 million backlog in terms of potential contracts, and we'll go on to the next. Oh, just one point here. This is a two-element array here. This was on a characterisation for the range over at Baddow Labs, where I started my apprenticeship with Marconi Company, and that is a chain-home tower that was used in the Second World War, first of the radars. So what is it all about? What it is, in 1970, I could have designed something like this. This is just a flat panel array with just elements. Now, but what I would love to have done is done a phased array at that time with ASIC design and transmit-receive capability in KU band. That's what we're talking about at the moment. So now what we're looking at, because of semiconductor technology advances and such like, now you've got something here which is about 25 millimeters in dimension that way, and it's a module which is probably 400 millimeters square, so that's one module. You can then build up given modules. Beyond this is an ASIC, and then there are transmit and receive chains connected to that ASIC. There is a control board. Now, one of the key things inside one of these elements is the phase shifting device. So that's done electronically, no mechanical stuff here. Back in 1970, if I had this, I'd have to have a mechanical steering mount, gimbal and everything else to do it, but that's all gone. We now move on to the next one. So the system concept. So you can see that what you've got is the individual modules, and in this particular case you've probably got 10. So you can build and perm all the modules together to increase the actual gain, the antenna on-axis gain. Another important thing here is that this is intended for mobile applications, particularly for aircraft, and you can then make the structure itself, the antenna itself, conformal. So that's what's rather nice about that. This is what they call a quantum aperture, and this is going to be used for marine and land-based systems, okay? And this is about 8 modules in this. It's approximately a 700 millimeter diameter equivalent of a reflector antenna. So the aero system concept is like this 10 module array, again, curvilinear, and fits on the aircraft fuselage about there. It's flush mounted, well, flush in the sense that, I mean, the aerodynamicists are a real problem. It's a real problem when you've got drag, and it increased the amount of fuel used by the plane. So there's about a 50 millimeter protrusion from the surface of the fuselage. This is a 10 module unit, so that's on an A320. To get your type approvals for these is a pain in the butt, and there's a thing called a GO or SO 160 or something like that, and I'm just taking everything from my old memory here, and it takes time to get through all of those approvals. So that's where they are. They are going to be having that approval next year. 6 module unit. This is now for marine and land-based systems, and that shows you what that one's configured like. This is another 2 products that they have, and these are called low-cost. Silence. Because, I mean, when you've got all this technology, and even though you can produce these things in the millions, it still costs you money. And there's lots of elements involved in this, and so it's not going to be a $100 antenna ever. So this one is 2 apertures, that's a receive and that's a transmit, so they've separated RX and TX, and that's KU band. This one is combined RX and TX from a single aperture. So this was some tests that they conducted just prior to the IBC show in September, and this was using the Kepler low Earth orbit CubeSat satellite, and this was using this particular antenna or terminal. It worked well, and it worked plus minus 60 degrees. So if this is broadside coming out this way, so it's now going to be working at an angle plus and minus 60 degrees, all the way round in a 3-dimensional pattern. So we're coming to the end here. Now, this is quite a complicated and busy graph to have, or slide to have, but basically what it shows you is the various terminals and building up in aperture size. So the aperture size is here, along here, equivalent. So 4 module, 8 module, 10, and so on. They go up to something like 10 times that one there, which is about 3.3 meters in size. But this is a little bit academic at the moment. So, so what we have here is this one here is the 8 module, and that is going to be a product. So they'll have 3 products, quantity manufactured next year. So, and that would be serving the aero market, the marine market, and the land-based market. So how do these things perform? I always like to see nice radiation patterns, and I like clean ones as well. So these are uniformly illuminated arrays. That means the outside elements have the same amount of excitation as the ones in the centre. So that means you're going to get a theoretical of 13 dB first side lobe off axis. What this means from these things operate almost to theoretical. So you're doing everything electronically. These beams are created electronically. So you don't get nasties growing up, like if you had a reflector antenna, you have nasty side lobes that can pop up because of surface irregularities and all that sort of thing. You tune them out electronically with this. This is on boresight, so broadside as they say here, and the amplitude or the gain drops off as something greater than the cosine to the power 1.2. So when you get out to 60 degrees, you're going to have a scan loss of something like, whatever it is, 5 to 4 dB or so. If you're at 45 degrees, it's about 1.8 dB. So that's what's going on. They've been working hard. The company is growing, yet they need sales. I'm sure they do. But you see, they've got some good products coming along. And these are the performance figures. So with that, I mean, as far as the takeaways are concerned, I'm coming up to 0 over there. So the applications, it's KU band at the moment. So that's super yachts, cruise ships, oil and gas, aero market, where most of the excitement is at the moment. True? Yeah? Land mobile and US military. So it's important for them to get going with their KU band sales. They are starting KA band developments just after Christmas. So that's the story that I'm telling of Phasor. And I wish them well, because there are so many other competitors. And you've got Chimeta, you've got Isotropic, you've got the guys in Germany, you've got Viasat, you've got ThinkCom, ThinkPad. So there's lots of competition there, but who's going to have good performance? Because we're not after record-breaking performances. It's a question of sufficient performance, appropriate performance at a price, because that's what it's all about, guys. You can't start charging what you like anymore. So there you go. That's the conclusion of that. Think of some questions for me afterwards. I may not be able to answer them, of course, but there you go.